The Chiefs are the darling of the NFL, and they got another crazy international game. But will it pay off for the Chiefs in 2025? Coming now on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for making us your first listen here on Locked On Chiefs. Make another Locked On show your next listen. We have a ton for you, and we're free and available for you every single day, 5 days a week, all year long. Unless there's a holiday or we have to do doubles, we're going to get you the information that you need. You can rest assured. So like, sub, hit that bell. Thanks for being with us. We have a fun show as we get ready for what has become more of a media sensation than anything, but some anticipation around the leaks around the NFL schedule. We're going to talk about our wish list, what we're looking for later in the show, and really have to ask the question, are the Kansas City Chiefs now America's team? There's a reason for that. That's coming up next. We'll start here on what is actually been confirmed by leaks, but leaks to actual reputable folks, that the Chiefs are going to play another crazy game to begin this season. What we think of it. He's Chris Clark over at KC Chiefs Corner. You can find him there. Go get subscribed. You can find me at NFL 33 and RGR Football. Both of those are .com, so they'll get you to the place you're going. I'm Ryan Tracy, founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, and a lot of extra content goes into all these places, so we appreciate if you check them out, as well as making us your first listen. We appreciate if you listen to another Locked On show next. Now, I'm excited for a number of reasons, because I figure all this drama buys them some goodwill by the schedule makers later in the season. Maybe I'm overproducing, but it's been confirmed, and even through some official Chiefs sources, the Chiefs are going to an international game to start the season this time. If you're going to have to go, I think that's maybe the best time to do it. Am I crazy?
I don't think you're crazy. I don't love it, but I think that it's probably the best thing for the team, actually get it out of the way.
That's kind of how I feel as well. It is rumored to be Sao Paulo. Sounds like a fun trip. If you're going to party, I don't know about trying to play on a field that is built for soccer. They've been through this before in Mexico City. I know that they've learned lessons from that. The league has. I mean, the organizers, the logistics teams that set all those things up. But I'm preparing for another kind of outlandish, crazy type environment, not just because I think they're trying to pump up the NFL's notoriety in South America, and a few countries in South America are maybe as dedicated to sport as Brazil is, but I'm just not sure if a soccer field built for that, especially the way they sand those fields most of the time, is really able to hold up to an NFL ball game. I'm a little concerned about the players. What do you think?
I think that's a great point, and I think that it's something that they got to get taken care of. The nice thing is that it's the first game of the season, and travel would not have been a big issue. Having travel there, traveling back. I mean, obviously you're going to have that be what it is, but it's nice that at least they know and they can get everything adjusted. And the field is obviously going to be concerned, but there's only so much they can do. The NFL's putting them on the field. That's their choice. And you got to hope that they get it taken care of and they get taken care of properly and that there are no issues with it.
Yeah, that's the big concern. And you're always dealing with people. You want to let the locals handle it, right? Because they know their field, they know the intricacies, they know how it drains when you water, especially with the natural grass field, as I understand that this is. They could pull that up and change that, but as I understand, that's not the plan currently. But you also want to make sure that it's up to the NFL standards, because the one thing you cannot do is have the NFL's top quarterback, maybe the best player in this league, playing on a field that is substandard. And that is the bottom line, no matter who you are. I think they have to put in maybe a more concerted effort in August than they have ever had to do before because of the timing of this game.
Yeah, they're absolutely going to need to make sure that the field is in pristine condition, because the reality is it's the Chiefs and the Chargers. I mean, you can say what you want about Patrick Mahomes. I think he's the face of the NFL and the best player in the NFL. But the other side of it is it's not going to be any better if something happens to Justin Herbert because of the field either. So, I mean, losing any player because the field conditions aren't up to snuff is a problem. And the NFL shouldn't be having a game there if it can't be to their standards.
You bring up a really good point, and one that I hadn't thought of until just now. So let's look at it from this angle. I'm not pleased that an AFC West rivalry game is going to be played overseas or over AC outside the country at neither team's home field. that feels like a miscalculation to me. That takes away from the competition in the division, I feel. Whether it was a home game or an away game, I don't even know what that designated yet. But the fact that it's not going
It's
to
an away
be
game.
at either of those fields bothers me.
Yeah, it's an away game. The Chargers are losing a home game. I don't disagree. I mean, it's not great. I don't think that it's, especially for a rivalry that could be something where it's down to the wire for the AFC West this year, and you're looking at the first game of the season being in Brazil and could have effects in the playoffs. It's not a great scenario in that regard. I do think that it makes a lot of sense that NFL wants to go international, and there's good ways to do it and bad ways to do it. This one I think is okay because it's the first game of the season. But again, the big concern is, player safety for one, on and off the field. And just, I mean, getting everything ready and getting everything up to NFL standards to be able to have that game there and get it to where it's successful is going to be tough.
I agree. I'm a little PO'd, to tell you the truth, because if you're going to make the Chiefs play outside the country, there's a game in Madrid this year. And I was just in Spain in the spring, and I loved it. I would have gone back in a heartbeat, but I'm not making the trip to Sao Paulo.
Yeah, and the other question I would have is, I would have to look, but I don't know what the weather is like in Sao Paulo that time of year. I mean, it could be a lot hotter.
We're approaching winter in Brazil now, right? So they'll be coming out of it. It'll be spring-like atmosphere, basically.
Okay, well, then maybe it'll be okay. It shouldn't be that bad. But, I mean, there's lots of different questions when you look at the Chiefs playing internationally. This is probably not one of my favorite ones. I didn't like the Mexico one. I agree with you. I don't know that the divisional games, because this is the second one, because Kansas City played the Chargers in Mexico City, right? So this is the second divisional game that the Chiefs and Chargers have played outside the country.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. But if there's an attraction to be made outside the States, it is Patrick Mahomes, and especially against the Chargers, who've played some great games against them. But that's only if you're outside the States, because I think the other thing that has happened in this schedule that we know of mostly at this point is it's not the Cowboys anymore. The Chiefs are America's team. We're going to tell you why right after this. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers the highlight-worthy performances, major momentum swings, and the can't-miss moments, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player. There's never a better time to get into the action. FanDuel makes that super easy to stay in the game before the tip-off and when it's live. With player props, performance trends, as well as same-game parlays, fans have more ways to play than ever before and to win big. All you got to do, especially if it's an injury night or something is crazy going to happen, you can get into the action right away. If you've got a read on who's heating up because of it, right now you can get on the same game parlay. Easy, and you can win big with it. If you're new to FanDuel right now, it's a perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If that bet wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook betting partner of the NBA. And don't forget, folks, ChiefsDigest.com, NFL33.com, and RGRFootball.com. That's where you can find our written content. Obviously, we do the YouTube and the audio, so make sure you subscribe everywhere. Yes, I write. I know it's kind of strange.
That's not why I'm doing that. You said Chiefs Digest. It's not Chiefs Digest.
Well, sometimes I'm over there. Every now and then I sneak it in, but it's Casey Chiefs Corner. Excuse me. My apologies. But you can read Chris if you go get subscribed, so please go do that. I'm not really kidding about what I said before the break. This is going to be another year where Chiefs play not only in prime time on a holiday weekend, but on the holiday itself. I think that's kind of a bummer for the players. I think it's kind of a bummer for us, to be honest. But it does make one thing clear to me. The NFL sees them as the next America's team because they keep pushing them to national and international audiences over and over and over. And I'm convinced of it at this point. Am I reaching?
I don't know that you're reaching, but I do think that it's interesting that Kansas City asked to be the permanent Christmas Day game. And they didn't get that, but they got this. So what that means in the future, if they're going to continue to be a Christmas Day game, we'll see in the coming years. But at this point, they're going to continue playing on Christmas. And I don't like it because I'm with you. I think it's one of those things where it would be nice to be able to kind of rotate that with other teams and not have the same team on it every single time, and the same team not be able to spend time with their families every single year. But Kansas City, the Chiefs organization seemed to want to have that. I don't know how the players feel about it. It is a primetime game. The other thing that I haven't liked about it is, availability of how things are going to go. And is it on regular TV or what is it on specifically?
Mm. That's a really good point. And rumor is it Netflix that's still the leader in the running for that particular game as you last saw it?
That's what I understood. Which
That's
is
what I'm
another
seeing.
subscription service for everybody else. And I mean, I know a lot of people already have Netflix, so for a lot of people won't be an issue, but
for some,
how many games you can put? Yeah. How many games you can put on other things?
That's the question. And I think that again is them using the Chiefs as their commodity, as their attraction to throw on all these different networks, to get all these different network deals, and in order to spread the wealth around a number of fan bases that get to face the Chiefs. I won't go so far as to call this the Patriots treatment, but it's starting to feel a lot like it, isn't it?
It is, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL. That's just the reality. He's been in 5 Super Bowls in 7 years. What are you going to do? I mean, Kansas City is that team that is going to be looked at as the perennial Super Bowl contender until Patrick Mahomes isn't in a Chiefs uniform, which hopefully is a long time away. So at this point, Kansas City is going to get preferential treatment in some ways, and then in other ways they're going to be put in prime time. And again, I think the thing that really stinks about it is that you take away the ability of regular people that don't have the extra subscription services to go and watch some of these games.
Do you think in reaction to that, especially if it's a home game, does that drive more people to the stadium? Not that the Chiefs ever have to worry about selling out, but is that part of the math for the league in general of these games?
I wouldn't think so, especially on Christmas. I can't imagine you're going to be driving people to the stadium on Christmas. I mean, I'm not saying that they won't fill. They will. They'll have people there, and I'm guessing that it probably won't be near as full with Chiefs fans as you would normally have because it's a Christmas game. So I don't think it's going to work in their favor in that sense. But I really wish I had heard the reasoning as to why Kansas City wanted this on a regular basis. Like the Thanksgiving Day game has been what it is. The problem with it is that you have Dallas, which is okay. Generally speaking, they're not great. They're not horrible, but they've been okay for the most part. But the Lions have been horrible for years. Now they're finally good, so it's okay. So it works out. But those Thanksgiving games for quite a while were horrible games.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Sorry, Lions fans, for the 5 of you that see this.
Yeah, well, and then you get into talking about Kansas City. I mean, obviously, Kansas City is going to have Mahomes for the foreseeable future. So, if they got the Christmas game, I think that they would be competitive for the next, 10, 15 years, maybe, or 10 years, maybe. It depends on how long he's wanting to play, but it's just a tough situation. Do you want to be in a situation where you give up that day every single year? And I mean, at least if Kansas City was the team, they would be hosting, so they'd be able to do things. They'd be able to set a schedule every single year. They'd know, okay, this is when we play. We'll be home about this time. You can do stuff before, you can do stuff after. So that would be beneficial, but it's still rough.
I can't argue at all. Does this, in your opinion, because the way that I feel is that the more exposure puts more pressure on most teams. But the Chiefs have done very good at isolating themselves from that pressure and dealing with it. Is part of this because they've had success going into all these weird situations that they're going to keep pushing them because of that as well?
It could be. It's just so tough to know what the NFL is doing and what they want to look. What is I think the limit is what, 6 primetime games? And we don't know the full schedule yet, so we don't know how many primetime games they have. But I would assume they're going to have the full slate of primetime games. And the other question is do some of these count as primetime games because they're specifically on different days at different times? And that's the other question. And we're going to talk about the schedule wish list, but I can already tell you, I already know what my number one thing on the schedule wish list is going to be.
I think I might have the same one. We're going to find out.
I don't think so. I'm guessing you probably don't, but we'll see.
All right. Well, we're going to get to that. What we want to see in this schedule when it's released, you're going to hear from Matt and Derek next on the next show that's released, and then we'll have a quick reaction to the whole schedule show, and then we'll break it down in its entirety just after that. So that's where we're going here with the schedule release. But what do we want to see on it? That's coming up next. All right. Well, schedules are schedules, and you kind of led into it. So let it fly. What's your number one need or want for this schedule list?
Not to play 6 days a week.
Okay. I like that. Just settle it down.
I'm okay with playing. Obviously, I think you're going to play Thursday. I haven't even looked at what day Christmas is this year. So you're going to play on a Thursday. You're going to play on a Sunday. Obviously, you probably have a Saturday game. But playing 6 different days a week is just horrible.
Yeah. It makes it very hard to be consistent, right?
And Christmas is on a Thursday. So at least that's something that they kind of get to a point where they're kind of used to that. But Christmas was on a Friday last year. So they played every day but what, Tuesday last year?
I think so. Yeah. Was there a
Wednesday game?
Wednesday game? Reversed? One or the other. Okay, yeah.
No, they played a Wednesday game. And I can't remember, was it Christmas was on Wednesday. So they played a Wednesday game for Christmas. And then the next week they played on a Saturday. And so they played, and they also played on Friday because they played on Black Friday. And it's just too many games. It's just too many different days. Your schedule is so off. And it's just, I don't think it's fair to the team to play on that many days. I'm okay if they play Monday, Thursday, Sunday. And I guess I'm okay with the Saturday game because I figure that's probably going to happen late in the season.
Yeah, that's fair. And I hadn't really thought about it, but you're absolutely right. Like my Thursday related one was a little bit farther down my list, but I didn't want to play on Thursday. But if the Christmas game is the only Thursday night game, then I'm going to be okay with that. Because the bigger thing for me, the number one thing for me is I want a week 11 bye week. That's what I'm looking for. I want 10 games under their belt, ready to go get some rest and try to finish strong with another class of rookies that are going to have to play reps, maybe some more than others. But I want to get them that later bye. What was it, week 6 last year that was just absolutely terrible, and yet they still made the Super Bowl run?
Yep. Yeah, it's week 6. I think they played the New Orleans Saints in week 5, and then week 6 they had their bye. And yeah, I mean, they need to be a bye week after week 10. I would agree with that. That would be probably number 2 on my list. Would be a later bye week. I don't know. I don't really want it to get much later than week 10 because you start getting into too late in the season. I'd like it to be one of those things where you kind of split it closer to in half. But bye weeks go to what, week 14?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's an argument to be made that it would be okay for Kansas City to have a later bye week because the reality is that they're likely to be playing until late January, maybe even February. So a later bye week gets it to where, okay, you got a bye week, you can get back on back on your recuperation and get your body back as best you can in a week. And then you have maybe 6 or 7 games after you have the regular season finales. And then you have, 2 or 3 or 4 playoff games, depending on where you get seated. So I guess I'd be okay with a really late one, but I'd say week 10 is probably about where I think the sweet spot would be.
Well, let me give you my other idea. Immediately following, I would have the entire division off that week, and then I want a gauntlet. They can do whatever they want the front half of the season. They can play, sprinkle them in, whatever. But I want 3 division games in a row. right after the bye week. I want to just run the whole thing and decide it, not on week 18.
Well, but they're always going to have a division game week 18. I mean, that's just the reality.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want them to.
Well, but
I
that's
want
how
it
the
up
NFL does
front.
it.
I know.
I get it. The question I have is who's going to be their week 18 game? It's going to be a divisional game. I just wonder who it's going to be. But you're in a situation where you start the season week 1 with the divisional game, and you have all these different. I mean, you have a game against the Bills. You have a game against the Eagles. All this is going to have to get figured out and get sprinkled in at some point. And where do you want to be when you're facing those teams? Do you want to have it early on in the season, or do you want to have it late in the season where you're finally starting to hit your stride? I think I could make an argument for both cases because early on in the season, both teams are probably adapting and getting used to it, and you probably have your full, closer to a full roster. But then you look at the late season games, both teams are pretty much where they're going to be, and you have a pretty good idea of where the team's headed. So there's a lot of great games for the Chiefs this year, and I'm going to be very curious to see how the schedule makers put it out, and I'm hoping that you're right and that they get a late bye because that would be great. And if I'm being honest, I would like a late bye, and I honestly would like to play the Bills after a late bye, not go straight to division.
No, okay. I think I can get down with that.
But
knowing
the Chiefs and the Bills in the regular season, the Chiefs have lost to the Bills 3 straight years?
Yeah.
So
meh
is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I ain't scared. Bring it.
Well,
Bring it.
yeah.
I'd rather play the Eagles early. I'll say that. But honestly, other than that, I really don't care. What we're going to do is react to what they do. Any last wishes for you?
I wouldn't say they have any real last wishes. I just think that it's the biggest thing for this team is, slow down the amount of travel. And what I mean by that is don't send them off to the West Coast and then come back and send them off to the East Coast the next week. Figure that out. I saw, I'm trying to remember who it was. One of the teams, I think it was the Jets maybe, are only traveling it's the Bengals, I think, are only traveling 8,000 miles this year for their entire schedule.
Really?
So there's some really low number. It's one of the lowest in the NFL, I think. So, I don't know where Kansas City is ranked in that, but when you started talking about last year, looking at playing on 6 different games on 6 different days, and then you start taking into account travel on top of those 6 days because you're not always playing at home. So you have to, figure that you're going to be traveling the day before. It becomes a nightmare.
Well, and maybe that'll balance out because I don't think Trey Hendrickson's going to walk that far. So maybe that's good for them. I don't know. I think it'll have the effect that I want it to have. So one way or the other. We'd like to know what you want to see on the schedule.
That's a mess there.
Yeah, it is, and I love it. We want to know what you want to see on the schedule. Leave your comments down below here on YouTube. We are going to break it down as we get post-game. Tomorrow is Matt Derrick giving us his insight on what are still the questions for this team. Thanks for making us your first listen today, and check out another Locked On show for your next one. If there's anything that might throw you for a loop in this schedule release, what would it be?
Back-to-back weeks of Eagles Bills.
Okay. That's fair.
And obviously, the Eagles were in the Super Bowl last year, and the Bills are usually always a good team. So you figure that those are going to be huge primetime games, and they should be based on everything that we know as of right now. But that would be a really tough gauntlet, is to have those 2 games back to back, especially if you haven't had your bye week and it's midpoint in the season and you're getting ready to go on a bye week right after that, and then you get a game, then you get an easy game coming back after your bye.
Knock on wood. And I'll say this: I want to see the Ravens game strategically placed. I think that once again will be the other primetime game that isn't a divisional game.
You know what's funny about that to me is that I actually saw somebody talking about that specific game, and their point was that the NFL overturned Baltimore's touchdown last year to make them lose that game. And I'm just sitting there going, pretty sure. I mean, yeah, I guess technically speaking, it was overturned, but he was out of bounds. So what do you want?
Right? It's not really a question there.
Is that really the headline you want? Guessing I know which way that writer was leaning.
Yeah, evidently. Well, and there will also be an America's Team Showdown. Chiefs are going to go to Dallas at some point. We will see when that comes in. So leave your comments. What do you like? What don't you like? What are you looking for in the schedule release? That's down there in the comments right here on YouTube. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell. Thanks for being with us today. We are going to keep it grinding all off season, 5 days a week, so you can always find us. Do not worry. We appreciate you being with us today, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.